Two of the biggest things is you don't really know what hard work is until you actually see it. I always thought I worked hard playing sports my whole life and just like in school and whatnot. And then you have a different perspective on it until you see the level of output that these guys do on a daily basis. It's not about just like the one day they work hard. Like it's every single day, 7 days a week on a different level. And it's like you do like a couple days, you're like, yes, I'm doing real good. But then when you see these guys, you're with them for maybe 2-3 weeks, you see it's every single day and you're dying over here after 5 days.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And today we got my man, Jimmy, in the house. Welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Thanks for having me, guys. What's going on?
Of course, brother. We are excited to talk with you. I specifically am excited to talk to you. You know what I'm going to start doing, which I thought would be fun? I'm going to start telling the audience how I met these guests that we bring on, because I have some cool stories. And Jimmy, I met at an event that I really didn't want to go to, actually. And we clicked, we connected, we had a great time, and I was very grateful to be able to hear you speak on a panel and share your wisdom and experience around building social media.
Yeah, that was an event that I don't think I even wanted to go to either. But I couldn't make it the first day. I remember it was like I got in a car accident the first day, and then it was like a bumper to bumper. It wasn't really bad, but I couldn't make it the first day. And then the second day, I was like, it was one of those where you're just like, I just don't even. After yesterday's day I don't even feel like I want to go today. And I muscled it up and went, and then we wound up meeting. And you're probably the only person I talked to the entire event, really, and sat next to, and then we just became friends from there.
That's it. It was funny. It was the only seat in the house too. You just came and sat next to me, and then we were eating lunch together and talking about life. Yeah. It was a great time.
It worked out.
That's it. We have to just push through our social anxiety sometimes, and then great things happen.
It's one of the hardest things to do.
All right, Jimmy, enough of the personal story. Why don't you tell the listeners who you are, what you're up to, what you're building, and a little of your story, and then we'll jump in from there.
What I'm up to currently, actually, I'll start from the past. When I graduated from college 2017, I went and worked for Gary Vaynerchuk for 4 years across 3 different departments: Vayner Productions, Vayner Sports, and Vayner Talent. I initially went in as an assistant. It kind of built after I built a bunch of relationships within the company, and I made a little hybrid role across 3 different departments: Vayner Talent and Vayner Productions and Vayner Sports. Obviously, it was representing talent to an extent, helping with their brand deals, marketing, contract negotiations, new business development, and then also helping Vayner Productions with new business development for the studio, and a little bit of line producing, doing commercial spots in the studios as well for low budget spots. And then at Vayner Sports, it was helping with events and handling production and social media content, and also building the personal brands for the athletes and the talent that we represented at Vayner Talent. So I did that for 4 years, and I moved over to acquisition.com after that for the past 2 years. And I was at acquisition.com as initially content manager, wound up building to talent and talent brand manager. And I handled the media team there, grew the media team from, me and Caleb went there from Vayner. So essentially from 2 to 18 employees across all platforms. Followers wise, we went from 1.5 to 10 million in about 19 months. And yeah, we handled everything top to bottom. And as we grew the team, we obviously delegated tasks off. And now I started in June of last year, 2024. I parted ways with acquisition.com, started my own social media consulting firm and a company called Gambling Golf I got co-ownership in. And for the social media consulting firm, we are doing consulting for private equity founders, venture capitalists, and entrepreneurs as a whole, honestly, right now. But we want to focus on those 2 as we continue doing everything for them in terms of social media, consulting-wise, strategy, development, content ideation, and Gambling Golf is golf balls, which we could talk about more as we go.
Well, Jimmy, I'm definitely curious. I mean, you've worked with some of the biggest people that this world currently knows. And if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk or ALEX HORMOZI are, I don't even know how the hell you found this podcast, because we are way less known. But with that being said, What was some of the really important or interesting things that you learned while working for these powerhouses?
I think two of the biggest things is you don't really know what hard work is until you actually see it. I always thought I worked hard playing sports my whole life and just like in school and whatnot. And then you have a different perspective on it until you see the level of output that these guys do on a daily basis. It's not about just like the one day they work hard. Like it's every single day, 7 days a week on a different level. And it's like you do like a couple days, you're like, yes, I'm doing real good. But then when you see these guys, you're with them for maybe 2-3 weeks, you see it's every single day and you're dying over here after 5 days. So it's like getting to that different level is something, and it's 16 hours a day, every day. So that was just a whole different level. They're maximizing their time at all. It's like zero procrastination in it. And so, and their schedule's top to bottom, the whole entire day is packed. So that was one thing. And I think it pays to be kind and doing the right thing. Like they're both, well, Alex, Layla, Gary, they're all the real deal. Like, and they're very, very good people and they're just great humans. And it obviously pays. Like you see by doing the right thing, how good they've done. So those are the two, probably the biggest keys I learned.
I'm just curious on why you left.
It was time, man. They were, it was cool actually. I wanted to, when I left Gary, when I was there working at Vayner Talent, I was initially like on the tail end of it. I was on Vayner Talent and I wanted to go and start my own like social media consulting firm because I kind of fell in love with the whole personal branding and social media strategy and saw that as more like the future. And I didn't have enough confidence to do it because I felt like I didn't have enough evidence to prove that I was good at what I say I was going to do. So to show you how good of a person Gary is, Gary let me stay there for another 6 to 8 months. He said you could stay. He's like, you have 6 to 8 months. You could stay as long as you want. I'll pay you until you find a job that you really want. So like it wasn't stressful for me to go and like force it on my own. I got to think about it or else I'll find another job. And I ended up finding another job because I wanted to do something on my own more. And it basically was like best of both worlds. I was getting a salary at acquisition.com, but I was also building something from the start. So it was like the best of both. And I was like, it's a no brainer. And then we wound up doing well there. And after 18, 19 months, I wound up leaving after like 22, I think, a little less than 2 years. And it was just time. Like I wanted to do my own thing. They knew that from the start. I talked to them about it and they actually told me you should do it. So, which was cool.
That's awesome. So you grew the entrepreneur mindset from the beginning by learning all the tricks of the trade and working your ass off, especially with Gary. And then it transitioned into acquisition.com where you grew from 2 to 18. And now we're into Gambling Golf is the name of the company currently, correct?
Correct.
So let's talk about Gambling Golf here.
Wait. I think there's something really, really important that we should ask him before we get into his current state of affairs.
What's up?
If I was an entrepreneur or somebody who's an aspiring entrepreneur listening to this podcast right now, and I was trying to decide, is it the right time for me to start pursuing my own venture? What would you say? What kind of advice would you give for that person right now? Like, how did you know it was time for you to start transitioning? What should people consider when they're in this moment where they're not?
If there's no right time, I did it. I did it when I had the worst spending habits of all time of my entire life, and I had no money, man. And you'll do a lot of things when you don't have a choice but to do that thing. So you'll figure it out. It's never going to be like the right time per se. It's just like you feel it. You give yourself no other option but to go for it. And that's really what I was at. Like I left and I didn't even realize I had no money whatsoever. I just wanted to get going. And when you get started, it's all on you. So you have no other option but to win or do well, or you're back going looking for another job. And then you look silly at that point. Cause in my case, I was working at like a dream job. And then I left and failed and then went back. It would look a little bit silly, but yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
there isn't, yeah. But I would just felt bad about myself, honestly.
We talked about this on the previous podcast about, the different mindsets of starting your entrepreneurship. And that's all it is. It's a mindset. I was exactly like you. I jumped in with both feet with nothing behind me as far as, you know, a job, or I think my savings, I had like, you know, 6 months saved up, and it was like, this is it. I don't have any other options. Where Vin and our previous podcaster, they actually had something to go back on, you know, worst case scenario, but they also worked 24 hours a day to making sure that they were going to scale this up. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that mindset. And look where you're at now. You made it happen. You bought back your time. You're investing into yourself.
Yeah. And I think there's something also, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs in general, it's very difficult to realize when you have, like, when you're doing good and when you have enough. I think we just continually can raise the bar. So like, we don't even feel when we actually meet the expectation that we originally set.
Yeah.
Like, I just got an office in Hoboken and it didn't even faze me. Like, I was like, okay, what's next? Like, it's like the victory, you don't, the wins, you don't even feel at times. I feel like that's a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's, the more conscious you are about it, the better you'll like feel about the wins.
That's why those little tiny milestones, aspirations, goals are so important. I learned that the hard way of being an entrepreneur for 10 years. And there's really never enough until you actually set small milestone aspirations to give yourself a, you know, pat on the back, if you will.
That's perfect. Like, perfectly said. I initially used to be like long-term focused, still am at a broad overview, but now I shifted everything into like small compartmentalized goals, just as honestly, like 2-month stretches, just so I could, because the positive reinforcement of achieving those like small little ones, I've realized for myself, at least, I'm sure a lot of people like that. It's just that quick rewards like that is just what keeps you going.
Why do you think we wait so long? I mean, it's funny too, because we'll get into these moments of stress, like, oh man, my income's not good, and it's like, but your income is $25,000 a month, and when you started business, it was $2,000, and you weren't nearly as stressed. How do you think we get into this ridiculousness within our?
I think it's the what's it called, the massive amount of information and tasks at hand. Like, when you're at a job, I think with a full-time salary, you have something to rely on. You know that's coming in the door, but in the back of your mind, at least this is for me speaking, at least, like, you have clients that you don't know how long they're going to stay, how long they're going to be paying you. You have tasks beyond belief for every single one. It's all on you. You have to handle your taxes. You got to figure out your whole LLC and paying your employees. Like, right now it's tax season, figuring that all out. Your own management processes on the back end. Like, all of that stuff is handled for the most part when you have a full-time job. So you're not really thinking, it's just the extra stuff on top of that, because it's all on you. It's the not knowing.
Jimmy, that never changed.
Yeah.
It's always a nonstop with everything. And I've always learned that instead of learning everything about it, paying somebody smarter than me to do that job, which is, you know, whole life insurance policies, CPAs, accounting, financial advisors, and it just keeps going and growing every single year. But so gambling, golf, I mean, I'm very intrigued here. You must be an amazing golfer, right? for having this out there.
Quite the opposite, actually. I'm probably one of the worst golfers in the tri-state area, but I decided to co-own a golf company.
Do not take my title, Jimmy.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the actual company? Are you really catered to specific niches for businesses and entrepreneurs, or is it very just broad? And is it nationwide too?
Yep, nationwide. It's very broad, right? Like, we're targeting, mainly demographic is younger males and females that are playing golf. We're trying to create that almost Barstool-esque vibe with it, and we're rebranding soon. But here are the balls. Like, you have a dollar sign on one side, $2 sign on the other. The original game is whatever side lands up is what you put into the pot, and whoever wins the hole wins the pot. And we're changing it now to market it. The 30 plus games will give you in the box. And then you could also be creative with the ball. And we're going to be saying, like, place a bet, loser pays side landing up, just to simplify it. So then you could just play for one shot. So it's like, we're just going to play one shot. I pay you out this shot, placing a bet on this hole. That's it. I mean, on this shot.
And I presume there's different colors in the ball, and I presume the denominations of the currency are increased too for your bigger buyers as well.
That's the thing. No, not yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have so many plans to like expand the product and come out with balls that say 10, 20, or you could do 100, 200. But right now it's just 1, 2, keeping it simple. We're going to build off this, and we're going to have like merch that comes out and apparel. But right now it's just the golf balls. That's like the core product, but we're rebranding currently and shifting another way with like our marketing. But right now this is it.
So the product is clearly awesome. Sign me up. I'll take it, especially because I'm a degenerate golfer as well. And I can't wait to take my friends' money. I say that, and they're all better than me. So, but at least it's something fun to do.
Well, we were playing Teddy was playing in South Carolina, and we are drawing like a $1 sign and $2 sign on the ball. And he said he looked and no one was doing anything like this.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
And he's like, why not start it? And so went out and did it.
Yeah. So
but
as far as
it's fun though, like we have, sorry to cut you off, but the ball goes, if you've ever played golf before, everyone's heard, if you're actually a golfer, you've heard of Pro V1s. They're one of like the top golf balls in golf. And these, we've tested thousands of balls, and they go 2 to 3 yards less on average than Pro V1s. Like our goal was to make, I wanted to feel good about using the product. So we made a product that was very good.
You didn't scrape off just noodles, right?
Nope. Nothing like that at all. I wouldn't be able to live myself if that was the case.
So I'm very curious from an actual offer for what you do for businesses, right? Is it more of social media? Are you creating organic videos? Exactly what do you do for businesses outside of the product?
When it comes to creating, we have editors that we utilize that can edit videos for you. But in my case, I'll help with your content strategy, your content ideation. Like if you don't have a management process, I'll help you with that. If you don't have a current media team, we'll put together a media team roadmap. We'll help train your media team. We'll give you the social media education, the knowledge that you need to level up in your social media game currently. It's basically what I was doing with Alex and Layla, and then the talent that I was working with at Vayner Sports, Vayner Talent, to entrepreneurs. And we're shifting to more of a focus as we grow to private equity and venture capital founders, basically exactly like Alex and Layla are venture capital founders.
Jimmy has been a massive help in that realm, and I could speak to that because he's given me a lot of amazing advice over the past few months. The biggest thing, and maybe this resonates with some of the listeners out there, is for a lot of content creators or people that want to become content creators, they don't realize that it's like having an actual job. You need to have a plan. You're supposed to tell a story. You actually are supposed to figure things out, come up with like, where are you going to shoot it? How are you going to shoot it? What's the tone? What's the brand? Like everything Jimmy's been teaching me. And I think even right now he's being too modest and downplaying, because Jimmy, like you've taught me so much about how social media planning is actually a freaking big deal, right? Like a lot of people want to become content creators and streamers, and they don't realize these people are methodical. They have stories, they have hooks and plots, and they have tones and brands, and like they have whole teams. Like Jimmy, can you tell the people a little bit more about this methodical process, especially like, again, the listener might be somebody who wants to get into this. Like what's some of the stuff that they could or should know about, what it actually
yeah, I think people don't realize the amount of time and effort it actually takes for like these videos that they see on social media and YouTube, for instance, the amount of sheer volume of time and action they've taken with their team that they've built to actually create the output of content that they do. I think it's really undervalued, the pre-production process. I think everything, the most important aspect of your content is going to be, in my opinion, your pre-production process. What topics you're ideating on, what you're going to execute on, how you're going to execute on it, where you're going to shoot it, what time you're going to shoot that, what's your run of show for that day, how many shorts are you trying to accomplish that day? Do you have a prompt document that's created with all your topics and talking points and what your hook is going to be, your thumbnail ideas, what your title ideas are going to be that you could choose from? Having that all laid out in like a run of show, how many pieces of long form content you're going to film that day, where we were prepping 2 weeks in advance for that. And just getting to that point in itself is a process. But we'll initially start with you guys. Like Vin, I did it with you. We always go through like your brand guidelines, develop your content pillars. what your current status is across the board with like media team, with your current media team, where you're at with your content, your voice, your messaging, your tone, your brand in general. Like, who are we trying to associate with? Who do we not want to associate with? We develop those things first, and then we put together the strategy and then an execution plan of how we want to attack it. And once we get that aligned on, we put it into motion. And I'm a big believer that a lot of teams and business owners are going to start building their media teams in-house instead of outsourcing it to agencies. So then their media teams, because I saw it firsthand, they're so much more in line with you and your brand than when you get an agency who's bouncing around from brand to brand to brand, or person to person to person in terms of personal brands, where it just doesn't do as well at all. Because I saw when you're focusing just on one brand period, your mind is looking all the time around at different things. For myself, at least it was in our team, we were always looking at content and seeing how we could shift it to Alex and Layla's perspective and like how we could throw our spin on it and make it for them. And we were doing that for like everything we would consume. It's just so much better when you have a team that's focused on it. I think that's going to be the future. So which is why we shifted to just solely focusing on personal brands and entrepreneurs and building their personal brands.
I love that, man. And for those of you, I want to give Jimmy another shout here. And like I gotta be honest, I love Jimmy and I absolutely love how knowledgeable he is. And for any of you who have recently tuned in and has checked out our 1% podcast on YouTube, you might notice that we rebranded. And that was actually because Jimmy was kind enough to do an audit on our podcast page. And then I was able to take those edits to our team, and they've made the vision come to life. So again, I'm just shouting out, like, Jimmy, you know your stuff, man.
Dude, I forgot I did that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Check it out after if you haven't. It's great now.
Literally, the video that we launched today got 3,000 views in less than a couple hours. So,
nice.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Now, I'm very curious because you clearly have the background here. Is there companies, I know you're trying to be niche specific, but is there companies in specific that you just won't work for because it's too hard, or products? Or does everybody, it's just finding their...
Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Is there clients that you're just like, I won't work with you?
Yeah, a lot. It's more or less...
Everybody.
No, I mean, that's the point. Outside of the assholes, is it just something that is just like, this is not going to work because of this? Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, there's a ton of like entrepreneurs that come, like I haven't done a piece of marketing, period. Like, I haven't done any promotion for our business. It's all been word of mouth since I left acquisition.com. And there's a lot of people I turn down because I'll hop on a call like this with them, and I want to work with people that align with my values and I align with theirs. The reason I did so well with Alex and Layla was because I aligned with their values as people and also in business, but also I was the audience that needed their content at that time in my life as well. And I wanted that to be the same with the people I'm working with, because I want to do just as well with them as I did with Alex and Layla. So like, that's one of the key reasons I think we did so well. And that's one of the big reasons I work with people now. Like, if it doesn't make sense to me and I'm not really like love what their product is, their mission is, what they're about as people, and we're not like vibing from the start on a call, I just don't think I'll give them the best bang for their buck.
How do you, at this moment in your life, what do you feel that you're putting the most energy and effort? Do you feel it's almost an even split in your businesses, or do you see it as one of them is more like the baby and the other is also a passion project? But like,
media engineering is the pride and like jewel. Like, that's what I need to build on and focus on the most. So me and my business partner, Teddy Giard, he was one of the founders of Kanga Coolers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it before. But we started this consulting firm, and this is the focus, because as we build this out, then gambling golf is only going to benefit from it. So the team that we build for this is going to be working on anything within the realm of media engineering. So like, we would put gambling golf as a brand underneath media engineering that could run through the machine of media engineering. And then we could have another brand that we run through. Like, we probably, for my referral business I do on the side, Vin, the Rolodex, like, that would be another brand that could run through. I could start marketing and promoting that, and I could run through media engineering. Teddy's company, Giard & Co., his production co., that could do that as well. So the main goal right now is growing media engineering and getting that launched off the ground officially.
For the general public, Are you taking in any sort of investors or anything like that?
No, we're the bootstrap kings over here.
I like it.
So
Put it
I
all
got a
on your
question.
shoulders.
Yeah, man's doing it old school. So Jimmy, I got a question too, because you said, obviously this is your passion, this is your baby. I've come to find that understanding social media and most importantly, how to make people look even better is actually more of a something, I think it's something you're more born with than something you could learn. You have to have a very specific eye to know like how to catch people's proper angles, like an artistic eye, right? Or how to really see somebody in their best light and then help them present that to the world. I'm curious, do you think that's true, or do you think that you've learned something over the span of time that made you good at this work? Like, what do you think it really is that makes somebody capable and powerful in your line of work or your?
That is what you were just saying is so interesting, because I do think that's the case from time to time. At least I feel like I'll see things where sometimes it's like a good thing where I'll see it and I'll be like, wow, I'm seeing things differently than other people do from a creative perspective. But then there's other times where you feel like a dummy because no one else sees the same as you, and they're like, how do you not see this angle I'm taking on a video that we want to do? And we've never tried it before, but then when we do try it, everyone thinks it was a great idea, but initially you thought you were a dummy for it. It happens all the time. But like, I agree with you that it's something I think you're like born with it at times, man. I hate saying that. Like, I don't know how to explain it otherwise. Like, how you could build the skill through repetitions, and I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to really answer that one in terms of like, you might be born with it, or you could just have a ton of repetitions reviewing thousands and thousands of videos and getting a better eye. But it's tough. That one's so tough to like narrow down, honestly.
So what was it for you then? You say you were born with it?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I love that you said, you're the only person I've ever heard say that, and I've thought it, but I agree with you. Even though it sounds crazy, yeah. I agree with you.
It makes sense actually, because I feel like you got to connect with my girlfriend, because she's got that eye where she knows how to take the right photos at the right angles. And when I had hired people to shoot social media content for me, like shoot a headshot or shoot a video, she would get pissed because she'd be like, why is he doing this angle? Or why is he zooming it like that? Or why is the camera that way? And she's like tweaking everything. And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, no, this is your angle. This is where your nose looks weird, or this is where your face looks better. And I'm like, oh, I don't know those things, but I think it's the same thing that I noticed with her.
I think it's also like knowing your intuition with people, like understanding who the person is at their core faster than other people, knowing which concepts and ideating different topics that their audience that they would like to see, and what's best for them as well. That correlates directly with their like story, who they are as people, their future of what they were trying to build. I think like understanding that quick, it's not like a black and white type skill. A lot of people have it. I think just I'll figure it out faster, or I understand these things faster than other people, in my opinion.
This brings me to another curious point, because your prediction now, you said somewhere in the podcast a little earlier, you said your prediction is that a lot of companies are going to realize that your best production team is going to be in-house.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be one of the best consultants to train these teams and help build them out, right, and give them the strategy. My question for you is, if I'm a prospective entrepreneur and business owner and I want to build my own internal team, what would you suggest are some of the things to try to look for to put together this team? Like, what would people need? And in fact, what would they have in place if they're ready to hire you? Like, how would we know, hey, Jimmy's the guy, I have the people? How does somebody get to that conclusion?
Even if you don't have the people, we'll start with you. I'm always open to having a call with people, see like where they're at. And I'll always give you my 2 cents on the first call, whether you have a media team or don't have a media team. But if you're looking to hire someone tomorrow, it's going to be the first 2 or 3 team members you're going to have are going to be like jack of all trades type people. Like, they're going to be doing a bunch of things. Like, you're going to have someone who's going to be shooting, editing, and posting. Like, they're going to have to be obviously aligned with your brand's mission, your brand's values, your values as an individual. That's the biggest key, period. But they obviously has to be qualified for the position as well and what you're telling them to do and what their responsibilities are. So you have your videographer who's going to shoot, edit, and also be posting on, depending on the amount of platforms you're on, and then a content manager. So then you're going to cover both aspects. You're going to have a creative guy to start, and then content manager will be like your ops guy who's going to be the back end, handling all your files, processes, content management across all platforms, helping with copywriting, concept ideation. You're both of those guys are going to double dip on the job responsibilities, but initially those are the two people that I would hire like ASAP. So then you cover both your content ops and then content creative, and then you build from there, which is depending on where you're at with the output that you're doing and your recent film days and sessions and what the content looks like and the quality and the volume. Then we'll discuss more of like where we want to go from here.
In your formula that you help people achieve to get phenomenal results, I'm curious, Gary V, Hormozi, so many of these guys are seemingly putting out ungodly amount of content, but you just said that they're working 16-hour days. I know they're not filming for those 16 hours. How do they produce such mass amounts of content, and how can your average business entrepreneur or aspiring individual start to produce something at such scale as well, even if they don't have the big teams? Or
that's where I say the pre-production is the biggest key. Planning, like you have to have your processes in place all before you produce any pieces of content. What does your Monday board or Asana board look like for every single platform? Or do you have like your automation set? Are you creating every piece of content on these boards and laying it out on a calendar? Or are you having group chats with your team on every single platform? Like, because whenever you go on them late night for a half hour or whatever, you check them out. You'll be sending different things to your team that you think is cool. You could probably reiterate and change it to like your brand and what you're trying to do. Do you have your film day sessions planned out? Like you have your media team roadmap of what you want to accomplish with the team in the future, all the SOP documents. Like it is a lot that goes into it. Like this is what Gary and Alex and Layla's teams have. They have someone that gets onboarded. We made a whole onboarding process, and there's a SOP for literally every single task that you're going to be doing. So it's like you can just hand it off to them and then they could run with it. It's literally a well-oiled machine. It's a process, but like it can be done. And I say that it's all before you even produce a piece of content, like the most important things.
This is exactly why business owners who don't have a face of the company go with you, because we don't want to recreate the wheel of everything that you just said. We want to hire you who essentially can build this. There's only so far. When I started my agency 6 years ago, it was a faceless agency. I didn't do any type of marketing, anything like that. And I got great results. In the last 18 months, things have gotten stagnant. Now I'm in employment, so we don't really suffer like big churn or anything like that. But what I've seen lately is the posts that we're doing on these podcasts and just putting your face out there and talking about your product or services. People are buying from know, like, and trust. Right. And Gary's been doing this even when his old garage sale days and his wine company, which is when I first fell in love with Gary. But that's what he's building. He's building an audience of know, like, and trust. So whenever he promotes something, right, just like all these social influencers, people are going to buy it because they know, like, and trust him. Right. Buy this red pen. Gary V said it. Great. Where's the link? Right. That's essentially what it comes down to. And that's what society is turning into on a very big basis, especially when COVID. I think since COVID, everybody's gotten comfortable being at home and going like this, being like, oh, this guy loves these shoes. Great, let me get this. I'm telling you, this is exactly how it's turning into. Drop shipping, e-com, Shopify, everything's been booming as far as product sales. But because of this know, like, and trust fact that he's talking about. Jimmy, we're going to have a follow-up conversation, you and I, because I am very, very interested in learning more here.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd love to talk to you. And I agree with what you're saying about Gary. Like it's a giving without any expectation of getting anything in return. Like that's literally what it was. And that's how he built the trust with people, because you associated his brand with the value that he was giving you. Like you immediately associated that with all positive things whenever he talks. So like whenever he did actually promote anything or a product or something he was launching, you're interested because you almost feel obligated to repay him the favor of the amount of value he's given you.
Does he still have that wine company? Does he still do the wine reviews? It's been
Wine library. Well, I think his father owns it.
Okay.
Still, like, it's still like in his family, but I know he had Empathy Wines. They sold that though. They launched Empathy Wines. It was only like a year.
Mm-hmm.
They had it, but they sold it to Constellation.
And what more do you need? Gary Vee's promoting it for a year. Sell it. Call it a day.
Yeah, they sold it and they did great after owning it for a year. That's the power of like building your personal brand. That's the difference of having like a product brand, and then it's a face. Any brand you launch, and if you have a larger personal brand, you build it up, you'll have that forever. So like any brand you launch in tandem with that, as you grow your personal brand, it's only going to grow the brand in tandem with it. As you associate yourself with that brand and your content, like subtly, it's going to be like that for any other brand that you launch alongside your personal brand as well. It's just your personal brand isn't going anywhere. You're always going to have that.
I love that, man. I love that you brought in the power of personal branding. I don't think enough people realize it, but we'll definitely have to pull you back on here to do another episode, maybe even on personal branding.
There's so much to talk about.
I believe it, man. I believe it. Well, before we wind up letting you jump off, because I mean this conversation seemed to just fly by. A lot of great information, but we got two final questions for you, my man. One of them being this: the premise of our show is that we are the 1%, but not necessarily talking about being billionaires. We think that the 1% is more of a ideology or a way of life. It's how do you show up to excel greatly in something that you want to achieve in this world? How do you strive to be in the top 1% of that category or that lifestyle? And so our question to you is that, what is your version of a 1% life?
That's a great question. I would say give, like what I just said before, give without expecting anything in return, and use your time very, very wisely, and be happy with the time you do spend with the people you spend it with.
I love it, man. And Jimmy, how can people either try to work with you? How can they get involved in either of your companies? Where can they find you? How can they best reach out or connect with you? Just let the people know how can they find the man, Jimmy.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Jimmy Contrini. And then MediaEngineering.co is going to be launching within the next month. And good old Gambling Golf, GamblingGolf.com, if you want to check out any of our product and products that we will be launching. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for coming on, sharing some great insights. Stick around for a minute after we finish recording. But guys, listeners, you heard it here. Go check out what Jimmy's doing. Get him on board if you need somebody to help with your content strategy. He has been personal vouch here. He's been massively helpful for myself, so I'm not ashamed to shout him. He's been phenomenal and a great friend. So, Jim, thanks so much for coming on here. And as always, guys, tune in next time for the next episode of the 1% Podcast. Like, share, follow, subscribe, comment, and connect with us on your favorite socials as well. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And that was Jimmy. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See you later.